I am Sterling Bright, the assistant sports editor for the Famuan at Florida A&M University.
I'm Ciara Mims. I'm a copy desk editor for the Famuan.
Good afternoon. I am Destinee McGhee, and I'm the arts and culture editor for the Famuan. Okay, so on January 29th, the men's basketball team were handed the academic progress rate sanctions for the second time in 4 years. Now, that's by the NCAA, and what it does is supposed to keep institutions accountable for making make sure student athletes are strong on the field and smart off the field. So they weren't meeting those requirements. And now our sports copy desk editor, his name is Avery Jacobs, he broke the news before the information was released to the public. Now, this wasn't like he hacked into an email or saw it on some academic athlete's desk and then screenshotted and got the story. He actually sat down with athletes and they told about what was going on. Okay, now the next day, the athletics department called Jacobs and asked him to take the story down, but we print every Wednesday, so the story was already in print as well as online. So then a meeting was called with athletics, Avery, our co-advisor, Professor Douglas Blackburn, and then our Dean of Graphic Communication and Journalism, Michelle Ferrier. Now, the co-advisor, Professor Blackburn, he updated the story to clarify that the NCAA, penalties had not been finalized, even though the players had been told they won't be eligible for postseason competition. And then athletics claimed players were not allowed to speak with Jacobs because they had not yet completed their media training, but that's not what they told him when they sat down for the interview, that they had to completed media training.
All right, so about 2 weeks after Avery's initial story, athletics held a press conference basically confirming what Avery had wrote in the initial story and adding 3 more teams onto the list that did not meet NCAA requirements. So not only was our men's basketball team under APR sanctions, but so is our men's golf team, our men's indoor and outdoor track team. So this is the second time in 4 years for golf and for basketball, and then the third time in 10 years for our track and field team. And basically what these sanctions means is that we will have less scholarships to offer in these programs. They'll have less time to practice. And in addition to that, there's no postseason, so we can't go to the playoffs. And Robert Rimpson, he's our sports editor, and he was the one who covered that story. And yeah.
And after this slide, we have a small interview with Jacobs and Rimpson. And it kind of opened my eyes because it showed that we've, in recent years, have had rough relationships with athletics and talking to athletics. And Rimpson, we had to cut down the interview, but Rimpson talks about how he did a story on Howard University and how it was leaving our conference, the MEAC conference, and how he got calls from the actual commissioner of the MEAC and FAMU, our athletics department. And it showed that, like, they continually have been telling us to take down stories or revise them, and how being that closely associated with your university can affect your stories.
I'm also not a tech editor.
Is it on the desktop?
Sorry, you guys, we tested it last night and it worked. So let me put this back on here. It's all the way up. So,
I think the sound of the computer is not on, it's just
Right there.
this? Yeah, but it's not, once connected to the system. And it's, the HDMI is connected, so it's not a sound thing. Yeah. Okay, so what we're gonna do is use the built-in speakers maybe? And see if we can hear it, you know what I mean? Yeah. Let's see what happens. Play it.
Greetings, I am Avery Jacobs, fourth year broadcast journalism student from Tampa, Florida. I previously served as the assistant sports editor, and I serve as the sports copy desk of the Famuan. So, yeah, most of the backlash came from not having a expert such as athletics confirming it, and so that's where a lot of the backlash came from. I followed up with athletics. I did my due diligence as a journalist. They just did not respond to the request. I found out a lot of times when we try to report as reporters, they don't like to actually follow up with us. They don't like to give us the information we need. They like to beat around the bush, or either they try to send you to a third party, thinking that that's going to stop the story. And it's your job as a journalist, if you know it needs to be put out there, you find a way to put it out there regardless of whoever's trying to stop it.
My name is Robert Remsen. I am a broadcast journalism student hailing from Kansas City, Missouri. This was on a much larger scale. Like you said, getting the dean involved, FAMU Athletics got involved, the whole nine. So I couldn't really anticipate that it was going to receive this much attention.
I reached out to athletics. I got no response. I reached out to the NCAA. They were telling me some things that I needed to know, and that propelled me to go ahead and write the story. I did not know I was going to receive a lot of backlash from the story, but I did. But I felt really good doing the story because I had put it out there, and I was the first person to put it out there. It gave good credit to the Famuan, and we did our job as journalists. That's the biggest thing you can do.
And so kind of the aftermath of all of this is, in order for us to speak to student athletes, now we're required to go through athletics. So we have to reach out to them. They basically have to give us permission. And then athletes are also required to take some sort of media training first before we can even speak to them.
Yeah, and recently, since the athletes have to go through media training, even since 2 weeks ago, I've had students, staff writers text me, email me saying that they can't complete stories or that they have to be postponed because they don't even know when the media training will finish for students to be able to talk to the athletes and the coaches or even athletics.
But yeah, that's it.